Step on up, grab a chair, take a load off your feet. There's whiskey on the table and stories to repeat. We're talking about the hustle, the grind, and what we'll find in the heart of second chances where treasures bind.
Welcome everyone to the video. Welcome to the channel. The Poor Reseller's Almanac. That's the name of the podcast. Like the video, thumbs up, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think of what we're going to talk about. We talk a little bit about everything here. We talk a little bit about reselling. Well, we were primarily a reselling focused channel, but we also look at, the stock market, what's happening in the market, because that can affect us. World news, what's happening in the world, what's happening in the United States, things that can affect us as well too. Impacts on the economy, all that, random stuff. We talk about whiskey. I'll have a little whiskey review here. I got a tiny little bottle. Let's start off the show with a little whiskey. And, yeah, I mean, just what I've seen from around YouTube. If there's anything I'm going to bring up, I'm going to bring it up. I just got back from the bins right now. I was actually, so where the bins are, they're on the east side of, almost heading into the east side of our city here. And so it's right by Chuck E. Cheese. So it's heading, I actually was not necessarily heading there today. Kind of taking a break so I can get some stuff processed. However, we like the sweet tea from Raising Cane's. So the chicken's good. Overall, it's a good place. It's really good. We really like the sweet tea. The sweet tea is really good. And so, went to go get a jug. And I was like, I'm just gonna get 2 jugs. But I was like, I'm heading to that side of town. There's a street called Quimby, and it kind of connects Capitol and Tully Road. And Tully Road is where the bins are located. Capitol is where Raising Cane's located. And that road runs in front of Eastridge. As a matter of fact, if you're from San Jose, if you ever decide to come to San Jose, you're into garage sales, that area on Quimby between Capitol and Tully, the houses that are there, the garage sales in that area are usually, well, I won't, in my day, when I did more garage sales, and we're talking probably about, pre-pandemic, and before, it was epic. That area is just incredible when it comes down to garage sale, but you gotta get there early. Those garage sales, you gotta get there early. You gotta be there the crack of dawn to get, to get the good stuff of those garage sales. But I remember those garage sales in that area, amazing, amazing. I don't do much garage sale now, as you see in my videos and my content. We do a lot of thrift stores, and now the bins are here, and flea market as well too. I don't show too much of the flea market anymore, just because it was difficult for the video creation. Creating a video at the flea market, and now the bins are here. I don't know. I've been going. I think did I mention that recently or not? I've been going less and less to the bins. To the flea market. Yeah, I haven't been there in a few weeks now. So, but I was actually just at the bins. Let's crack the whiskey open really quick because I just got back from the bins. This is still Austin. This is the what is it called? The Musician. So I was over last week at Total Wine to get the bottle of Jura, which was really good, and I reviewed in my last video. And I usually take a look at the small bottles. They usually have a selection of bottles that are, I think 350 milliliters, kind of about half of a normal bottle. And then they have obviously the little tiny ones as well too. But they usually have a good selection this time when I was there. But I saw this on there. I'm like, oh, I'll give it a try. Why not? I like the little picture there, the musician, pretty cool. So we'll crack that open. This is probably, once I crack it open, I'll probably finish it, but it's a significant amount of whiskey, in my opinion, for my, just for the video. I'll save a little bit for later, but, I got this little, I don't know if I showed it last time, but it's got like a, when you look at the bottom, it's almost, I look from this way, everything just kind of looks, it's like a magnifying glass, kind of weird, but kind of cool as well too. But it has a rounded bottom, but it always sits upright. And actually, I didn't purposefully get this, or I didn't get this on purpose, but this was on top of a Glenmorangie cup that I wanted, and this was taped to it. So like, that's not a tumble up, which you would assume it would be a tumble up. But I was like, oh, well, I'll take it. It's not really anything resellable, but okay, let's dispense that in there. And okay, see what that tastes like. That's a that's a lot of whiskey. Kind of aerate it a little bit. Bourbon definitely smells like bourbon. There was a bourbon. I was watching a review of a Penelope Rio, a bottle of Penelope, and the release was called Rio by Penelope. And I've heard some great reviews about it. I don't know if it's just a limited release, and I don't think it comes out this far to California. They do have Penelope whiskey here, but as far as like some of the special releases, they usually don't make it out this far. That's aired out or aerated enough. Move my hands. There was like a floral note that I got, but that might have been just because I just washed my hands. Typical bourbon. Yeah, straight bourbon whiskey. This is 49% alcohol, so 98, just over 98% proof. It smells good. It smells good. It smells like a good bourbon. So oh yeah, that has some heat. Definitely has some heat. Just all the classic, bourbon notes in there, big cherry flavor. It goes down hot too. It's going down right now. It's going down hot. I might take a break and add a little bit of water to it and see if that, because it's really hot. It's surprisingly, this is not a barrel proof either. And I don't think they'll put barrel proof into this little tiny thing. I've never seen it. But this goes down, this goes down very hot. So just be aware of that. But just classic bourbon, big cherry. You got your wood, your smoke. Nothing really spectacular about it. Yeah, nothing really to write home about, but it's a great bourbon. It's just really good bourbon. It's got all the classic, um, everything you would expect from a bourbon. It's all there in a bottle. Really, really good. And I think the main bottle, like the standard size bottle, is right around $39 a bottle. So you're right in range of a good bourbon. So if you like bourbon, this Still Austin is a pretty good one here when it comes to bourbon. Otherwise, just classic, bourbon. No, nothing really right home about. Maybe I'll put some water in it later and see if there's anything else. Sometimes the water will bring out some other, notes, tasting notes, anything like that. The friend of mine who I might ask if he has any of the Penelope Rio. Because this guy is, if you think I'm a little crazy about whiskey, this guy takes it to a whole nother level. I mean, it is wild. And I think I mentioned it before. His house is like a liquor store. It's crazy. So, all right. I have some talking notes. Oh, we're going to talk about jewelry today. I wanted to bring up jewelry because, I used to sell a lot of jewelry online, not on eBay. I used to sell a lot of jewelry, and we'll discuss that. And talk about jewelry. And I was watching the channel today, earlier today, and I've seen the channel before. I'm not going to mention names or anything like that, or channel names, but just something to be aware of. Just be cautious with, when you're watching videos and, uh, the woman was, talking about how successful they were at selling shirts, and the title said shirt store, and the picture said shirt store, and it's all about shirts, right? And then you're thinking t-shirt, you're thinking shirts, right? The shirts you're thinking of. But then once you start watching the videos, it's not just shirts, it's everything. Then in the comments, I saw somebody mention in the comments, you're not a shirt store. You sell, jackets and everything else. And then in the comments, she says, yeah, anything you can wear on top. Like anything you wear on top, that includes hats, that includes everything, right? That includes a lot of that includes the whole upper half of your body. So a little bit deceiving because they're telling you how successful they are at selling shirts in the title and the thing, but then when they start talking, they're like, "Oh, we sold this jacket, we sold this, this sweater, we sold." So it's not just shirts, and I think a lot of people would think shirts are shirts, right? Just shirts, and that would be quite appealing to see, somebody who's successful at just selling shirts because it's pretty challenging. Once you start throwing sweaters and jackets in there, it makes it a little more easier. Jackets and sweaters, sell a lot better towards the colder times of the year. And, they have more appeal to them. They bring a lot more, they bring more profit. They bring a higher ASP, or average sales price, is what they do bring. So, and shirts just don't really bring that much, so, I was like, oh, wow. Like, what are they doing? Like, how do they get, they're talking about making, 5,000 a month just selling shirts. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. This isn't just about shirts. This is more about, this is like jackets and sweaters and everything. Well, now I can see, now I understand why you did so well. But, if it was just shirts, then, so I was like, oh yeah, they're just clickbaiting is what they're doing. The whole, trying to, use, tactics and advertise something, get you hooked in, and then you're kind of, stuck watching it. Well, you don't have to stay watching it, but the whole goal on YouTube is to get watchers, to capture watchers. That's the goal. That's the advertisement. So, and if you ever catch me doing that, let me know. Call me out. You have every right to call me out. If you ever catch me being vague, let me know. Tell me in the comments. At the bin. Oh, I want to show this really quick. So I just got back from the bins, like I said, and check these out. I found these there in the bins in the electronics section. Some Bose. These are the NC 700s. Now, as you can tell, they're not in the best of shape. There's some, to me, it looks like there was heat applied to this or something. I don't know what's going on there. And then there's, obviously the cuts. There's some, oh man, this is actually on. Hold on. I don't want that music. Yeah. Okay. We turned that off. I don't know what. Yeah. I was testing them out to make sure they work. I don't want that music to appear on there, but they do work. They do work. They work perfectly fine, connected, charging. You see the ear cups. There's, damage on the ear cup, wear and tear and stuff. So I mean, in great condition, $100, maybe 120. In this condition, maybe 70. I'm thinking $60, $70 is probably what I'm thinking, just because they do work. They were probably, I was testing them out. They were perfectly fine. They sound great. Of course, I cleaned them, tried to put them on my ears. And this doesn't come off. I tried to clean this off. It's not. It's like the metal's been burnt or something. Like someone applied a little what do you call it, lighter to it. It's strange. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what people do with things like shoes. Like what happens to people's shoes? My shoes don't really ever get like. I mean, yeah, you get wear and tear on the tread, but I don't know. Like some people just completely wear out their shoes. It's wild. Like, and it gets wear in the weirdest places as well too. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I mean, I kind of do collect shoes nowadays, but even when I was younger and, I would get a pair of shoes every once in a while, I didn't really wear them down that much. I mean, I never Like there was never like this weird like wear around the toes, but no wear on the rest of the part of the shoe. Kind of strange. I could see on the heel part because the heels strike every time you plant, every time as you're walking. I could see that wearing down, but very bizarre. Why did this even happen? And not only that, I think if I'm not mistaken, retail price for these is was probably around $300, maybe $200. That's a lot of money for headphones. So you can see what we find in my area. It's just wild. Like people just throw these out. They spend so much on it, and instead of reselling it, instead of passing it down to somebody else, instead of keep use them still, they just chuck them. That's it. So they're still perfectly usable in that condition. So either way, we'll get them resold, and we're gonna make I think we spent $33 today at the bins, and that will more than enough get us into the profit. And then I found a tiny little Coach purse, more like a kind of like a purse for a cell phone or something like that. So that was pretty cool. I had some notes here, but I'm looking at my notes. They're not very like. I was going to talk about people. I think people are stealing my talking points. It sounds like I'm watching other bigger names, and I wrote that down here. But like, I'm putting all this on YouTube and in a public forum, so it's bound to happen. Doesn't really matter that much to me, but I just wanted to point that out. So if you hear anything like anything I'm saying, and eventually somebody else comes out with a video about that, just know you heard it here first. And and I do see that people do get credited. Like other people say, so and so said this, so and so said this, but I'm not a big enough channel to be recognized yet, I guess, or to be at least added as where I got this information from. Oh, right here. I did want to talk about because I've been watching some people who are just getting started out in the reselling game, and I think right now would be a great time to get started in reselling and get started. Not go crazy, not quit your job and jump right into it like that. Just kind of starting to get started. Part time. I would say. So I would recommend start part time because many people have you'll see on YouTube, you'll see, oh man, you're selling these great items, you're selling all this stuff. This is what you sold. I could do the same thing. I can find those same items. But you're not going to see the same success right off the bat. It takes time to build things up, and you have to give yourself a little bit of buffer. So don't jump right into reselling. Don't quit everything you're doing and just jump right into it full time. Build it up a little bit. Learn all the ups and downs and all the nuances that come with selling online. Sorry, my eye just got itchy. They're not taking another allergy medicine, is what it is. Matter of fact, let me just finish my thought here really quick. I'll take a break. So jump starting in right now, and plus it's getting hot right now. I'm looking for my remote for my fan right here. I have a really cool Dyson hot and cold fan right over here, and I got this at the flea market. Now I think these go for $300, $300. Actually, they were at last year. They were at Costco for $3.99, and I got mine at the flea market for $100. It was in open box condition, so there we go. Got that going. So really cool. But let me just finish my thought here before I go take some more allergy medicine. A little bit of water to the bourbon. But right now is a great time to start reselling because all the artificially created business or demand has it's gone. Everything that was created in the bubble that was the pandemic is now gone. We've kind of hit the bottom right now. When it comes to reselling and selling online, e-commerce, we're kind of back to where we would have been in 2020. That's where we're at right now. And now you're really going to get a good idea of what it takes to resell full time. A lot of people that have YouTube channels, big YouTube channels, and they started during the pandemic. They again, I'm crediting Primo Chemo, who has a live show. I forget the dates, but he has a live show here on YouTube. Real fun guy, him and his wife, really fun people. Um, he said it best when he said a lot of these YouTubers built their YouTube business using eBay and not the opposite. So a lot of them come off as, these gurus in reselling when in fact they were using reselling to build up their YouTube channel, or it could have happened by accident as well too. Could have been, you know, they just so happened to blow up on YouTube because they were reselling. Um, so where was I going with that? Oh yeah. I lost my train of thought for a second. Um, so during the pandemic was a artificially created uh online selling e-commerce bubble. It was created, it blew up, prices were outrageous. The numbers that, the numbers that I was seeing, like reselling wise, was crazy. Like everything was selling so fast and prices just kept going up and up and up. And the velocity was going up and up and up. Um, and then everything started crashing. And then now everyone that started around that time are like, what's going on? Reselling's over. You can't thrift anymore. There are no items out there. There's no more profit. eBay is broken and da 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 da. It's not that at all. It's falling back to normal. And so they didn't know how to deal with it, or they didn't even know how to understand. They didn't even understand it, what was happening. Those of us that have been around prior to the pandemic are well aware of these different, bubbles. Obviously, we never had anything like a pandemic. That was totally new, well, for us in this era. But there are other smaller bubbles, and I remember specifically sports car bubble, or the crash of the sports car bubble. That was crazy. And it's not really even a crash in sports cars, retail was still fine. Prices were going down because there was a lot of supply. The hobby, people were still collecting. It's just people weren't paying up in the resale market. People, and as cars were getting pulled and either graded or not graded, and uh, people were getting them listed on eBay. You go to hobby shops, people just weren't paying up for them anymore. And that was the crash. It wasn't that like sports cars weren't being made anymore, or sports cars weren't being sold anymore, or nobody was collecting anymore. It was just the amount of supply was just way too much. Too much supply caused a crash in prices. Primarily in the resale world, not so much the retail world. Primarily just in the reselling world is where it crashed in. And so a lot of people, just didn't, they just went out of business. A lot of hobby shops went out of business because hobby shops are basically kind of half retail and half reselling. Actually, a lot of them are a lot more reselling than actual retail, but they do offer retail, like packs, sealed packs and boxes and stuff like that. Uh, and so I remember those challenging times with a lot of people. I didn't have a hobby shop. We just did shows and everything like that. So I didn't really carry much inventory other than my collection. So when I would need inventory, I would go to online marketplaces like eBay primarily and look for collections on places like Craigslist to buy out to prepare for shows. But otherwise, I really didn't carry much inventory on hand, like I said, other than my collection. So it didn't really affect me and my friends that did this for several years. Didn't really affect us that much. What I did do was when prices started crashing in the reselling sports car world, I went and gobbled up cards that I had wanted. I went and got, I was a huge Frank Thomas fan. So I went and bought up a bunch of Frank Thomas cards at rock bottom prices. Then I went in, and got a bunch of Shaq cards. I was a huge Shaq fan. So I went in and bought a bunch of his rookie cards, a few select cards here and there, just because I knew it was bottom of the market. It was bottom of the market and it was time to buy. So being able to identify when bubbles are occurring and when they're crashing are great times, like for, those that can identify them. When bubbles are blowing up, not like exploding, but just inflating, I should say, that's a great time to start selling. And if you can identify that in whatever category it is, not like a pandemic where it's just everywhere, you probably won't see that again. But if you can identify certain categories where bubbles are starting to get inflated, you can get in there and make some great money. And then perhaps if it's an area that you enjoy as a collector, then as it bursts and starts crashing, it'll be a great time to pick up pieces that you didn't necessarily want to pick up when prices kept going up. And a lot of that comes from experience and watching all these things happen over time, being involved in it. The Beanie Baby craze, that was a good one too. We rode that wave for as long as we possibly could and then bailed. I remember just because we always had our ear to the ground, we were always talking to other collectors and other dealers. So we'd be at all these shows. We'd have booths at all the other shows. So we're all talking to everybody. Everybody's talking, and you can kind of get a sense of what's happening in the market. And I remember specifically, watching and hearing people like, people aren't buying up Beanie Babies anymore. People are not, the prices are starting to drop. Prices are starting to dip. And I remember one of the last collectible shows. I mean, all shows turn out to be sports cards and toys and everything like that. One of the last ones we did, when the Beanie Baby craze was still going on, I sold off everything in one big lot. I just like, it's time to bail. And me and my friends, we just sold off everything we had, and we're like, gone, one big lot. And then we didn't jump back in. And, later on that year, the rug got pulled out from under me. That was it. It was done. It was all over. So, and about that time, I started getting more into toys, action figures, and obviously, I've always been in computer parts, computer stuff. So, okay, a little bit about that. Let me just take a break really, really quick, and I'll be right back. And we're back. I mean, it's going to take a moment for the allergy pill to kick in, but we got a little bit of water in the bourbon. So let's see. Didn't really change anything on the nose. Sweeter. Definitely sweeter. More that cherry soda that I get from bourbon. Brought the heat down quite a bit. This is a lot of whiskey, actually. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. But what I also wanted to talk about, and I wanted to peel the curtain back. And one of the things I wanted to do is really just kind of to help everyone be better informed consumers, informed resellers, informed, overall, spread some of my knowledge around. And we'll talk about jewelry. Now jewelry is great for selling if you can get it, have access to it. And why? Because there's incredible markups in jewelry, especially fine jewelry. There's incredible markups in jewelry, and there's incredible margins in jewelry. Yeah, the thing is you have to have, access to it at a wholesale price. Going to, you see me at Goodwill, you see me, look at jewelry, you see the jewelry drawers, but most of it is overpriced. And from what you see online, a lot of people, if you watch jewelry, people on YouTube, they're overpaying for jewelry. And why? Why are they overpaying? Because I kind of know, I have more insider information is basically what I'm saying. Trust me. A lot of the jewelry I see out there is, first and foremost, really quick, designer jewelry. It's whatever anybody's willing to pay for that name. So, stuff like Tiffany, David Yurman, that stuff is just, it has a name behind it. And even though it has a certain value just based on gold and or silver, because that name's attached to it, there's an additional value there that, is is that people are willing to pay up for. They're willing to pay up for that value, even though the material cost doesn't justify it, but the name does justify it. So that's just whatever. When it comes to designer jewelry, it's whatever people are willing to pay for designer jewelry. Gold has a certain value, silver has a certain value, platinum has a certain value, diamonds have a certain value. There's a certain value attached to these. And then once you slap a designer name on it, then it just goes through the roof sometimes, depending on who the designer is. So I'm not really talking about designer jewelry. Fashion jewelry is also fashion jewelry is really, really hard because you just got to get somebody to see it and like it and want to pay for it, because there's really, really no other value to it. There's no necessarily value in the actual materials that go into making that. A lot of it is just a mixed metal base chain of some kind, and maybe a stone, probably artificial stones, or plastic or glass. And a lot of stones. Like, you go over to Michael's, you can find all these stones over at Michael's. Some of them may be fake, but they do have a lot of real, like, stones there that you can purchase in long strands. And one of the problems that I see with a lot of people that showcase jewelry or that buy and sell jewelry is that they're buying a lot of jewelry that, because I can see through it, is a lot of jewelry that just isn't worth it. And jewelry that I know I can get for, really at wholesale price, which is really, really cheap, even for fine jewelry. And so, I see these videos with a different eye, but I can tell that piece is made with, stones and or beads from Michael's. I can just tell by looking at it. Now, so I primarily dealt in sterling silver. Sterling silver is 925.925. So it has, 92.5% silver in it. And then the rest is made up of other metals to make it more harder, to make it more, because 99, fine, so 9.999 silver, is very malleable. So they have to add other stuff to it to be able to make it harder, more durable. But there is jewelry out there that's 999 silver. You can find it. I found it at Goodwill. I found belt buckles like that. I found coins and everything. You can find this stuff. It's out there. Usually it's not traditionally marked like you would see typically within the USA or modern, marks. So you got to get familiar with older marks or with marks from other countries as well too, because it will be marked. It just, they won't, like a Goodwill will see it. Unless they have a tester back there, they're not going to know based on the mark. So I dealt primarily in sterling silver jewelry, and I know the prices you can get for this stuff. And I see a lot of the stuff that I could buy wholesale. I see people buying it and paying nearly retail price for this stuff, and then trying to resell it for even more than that. And, I just want to kind of, like I said, I just want to bring a little bit of knowledge to everybody out there. And especially, there's no reason necessarily to overpay for things. Let's just take an example. So I was doing a little bit of research. I was looking, to see what I can pay for items right now. I was looking at some contacts and trying to see what prices are going for right now. And I would primarily get jewelry from Asia, China primarily. If you want Mexican jewelry, Native American jewelry, don't get it in the US. It's gonna be really expensive. Go to Mexico. And I'm not talking about go to Mexico, go to Juarez or Tijuana. Those are tourist traps. Even what do you call, what's the other place what's the beach town that everybody likes to go to? Or any of the other towns like Mazatlan or Cancun or Puerto Vallarta. Those types of places, you're gonna pay top dollar. You're not gonna get no deal. You gotta go into the middle of Mexico where you better know Spanish. That's where you gotta go to get the prices that you can actually resell that jewelry for more. And Mexican jewelry and Native American jewelry does tend to go for a lot more than jewelry I can get from Asia or China primarily. Let's just say China because that's where most of it comes out of. Um, so that jewelry does tend to go for a little bit more. It not necessarily better quality, but it has more of that, America's type of look to it, that more handcrafted look to it. Not to say that the stuff that comes out of China is not handmade. It's still great, great jewelry. And sometimes it's hard for the untrained eye. It is hard to tell. Now I was looking up just some basic stud amber sterling silver stud earrings and what they go for right now. And they went for quite a bit, actually. I was looking at it like, oh man, it's up to $9.30. It's probably going to go down just because of the whole tariff situation. So it'll probably go down in price. But when I used to purchase it, the most recent that I remember, it will kind of fluctuate depending on how much you would buy, or if you're drop shipping it. I would do both. But you can generally get it for between $3 and $3.50 per piece, per unit. Obviously, depends how much you buy. If you can actually negotiate even better prices if you buy a lot more. And we're talking sterling silver, real sterling silver, real amber, and just stuff that you would see like at a silver shop or something at a tourist place. Just little, studs. And it's not that much silver. It's really not that much silver at all. And the amber, this isn't the best amber in the world. This is a tiny little dot of amber. It's not crazy, just enough to tell you it's there. And typically those would resell online for about $30. In a retail setting, you could probably get $39.99 for those. And is it worth $39.99? In my opinion, just because I know, I have more advanced knowledge in this. I know it's not really worth that much, and I know what I can get it for. But it's up. It's really up to the consumer to decide if it's worth it for them or not. And that's why when you go into a lot of jewelry shops, even when you go into a jewelry shop like in the mall, they'll break out the calculator. You'll see them break out the calculator, and they'll start doing all their calculations. They'll be like, okay, oh, you want that? You want that? Okay, let's just. They start hitting all the numbers in there. They show you that, and this is what we can give it to you for. Because the sticker price isn't really necessarily the real. That's like wow. I wish I could afford that. It's so much, and they go, well, let me hold on. Let me see, and then they start because there's so much margin in there. There was tons of margin in jewelry. The bigger the pieces sometimes don't necessarily mean like this sterling silver necklace. This necklace is probably, retail wise, I'd probably say somewhere around. It's pretty heavy too. It's probably around $199, I would say, for this type of sterling necklace. I have an even bigger sterling silver necklace as well too. I like the silver color or white gold. I don't really like the bright yellow gold. I like the sterling silver. I like the silver color. So I have a bigger chain than this as well too, and I didn't pay nowhere near what I would pay like at a K Jewelers or something like that. I still have some connections in jewelry, and I can get good prices. I do pay up a little bit just because I'm paying the middleman now. Because I shut down that that whole store, the Shopify store is all down, and I'm rebuilding it, and I'm hoping to build up. I'm hoping to be able to sell items that I find in my thrifting videos to viewers and people that maybe want those items. So check the description. I have my my email in the description if you see any of my videos that you want, hasn't sold anywhere else, I'll tell you if it has sold anywhere else. Send me an email, let me know, and I will tell you how to purchase that item. But to go back to to jewelry, they break out that calculator, and they're giving you the best price they can do because they know, and then you can negotiate even more if you really want to, and you might even be able to get a better price up front. If you do financing, I would recommend it, but that the company makes a lot. Those companies make a lot of money on financing, a lot of money. But this is not about it's not about taking loans or financing like that. This is about just, the margins and all that. So there's an incredible amount of margin when it comes to jewelry, which is why it's such a great, great sale. It's a great, it's a great, category to be selling in, especially fine jewelry. Like I said, fine jewelry, like sterling silver, gold, and all that. Uh, Fashion jewelry is a little more difficult. Like I said earlier, fashion jewelry and designer jewelry, if it's not fine. When I mean fine jewelry, I mean silver, gold, platinum, diamonds, emeralds, rubies, all that stuff. Um, Even diamonds really, really, unless it's a certified diamond, unless any of your gemstones are certified, they come with certification and all that, they really, really don't have that much value. All the diamonds like at a K Jewelers or the stores at the mall aren't really the best diamonds in the world. I mean, they're still diamonds. They do have some value there, but in my opinion, not enough to justify the price. They're not really that great of diamonds. And really, what really goes into the diamond is the diamond cutter. The diamond cutter, they can do amazing work with very poor quality diamonds. It's all about the cuts. It's all about cutting the diamond appropriately. That's why they have different types of cuts, and it's not necessarily, yeah, it does have some for the look, for the appearance of the diamond, but it's really, really to catch the light so you get that sparkle. And all these jewelry stores, they are well aware of that, and they have the appropriate lighting to showcase all their gemstones, diamonds, and everything. So when you see it in the jewelry store, it's gonna be the best place to see your gemstone. So a lot of the diamonds out there that you see out at the malls and shops and everything are not really the best quality diamonds. To get the best quality, you need a certificate behind it. And then you're going to be paying up for those ones. Those ones are worth it. They have, they've been evaluated and certified. I don't remember all the categories and all that. But nonetheless, there is still incredible margin in jewelry, and which is why a lot of people like to sell it, and which is why there's a lot of jewelry stores, and which is why sometimes you see jewelry stores, they may only make a few sales at a time, but they're making an incredible amount of money with every individual sale. So, yeah, I guess the takeaway is just be aware that there a lot of the jewelry that is out there is jewelry that's coming from places like China. It's coming from Mexico, and the price that people are paying, like in thrift stores and antique shops and all that, you know, it's fairly high. And again, in my opinion, they are fairly high in price, and you can definitely do better. And don't be afraid to negotiate the price. Obviously, if someone's already paying such a high price, they're probably not going to have much room to move around in. But if you can identify those sellers online that are selling jewelry, I mean, I don't know if you can really negotiate on an actual website, but a place like eBay or something like that. If you can identify those places that are you can kind of tell over time, people that have sources that are buying at wholesale. They'll usually have a bunch of listings up in their website, pretty generic pictures and everything. You can negotiate price because there is an incredible margin built into a lot of these items. So just something to be aware of. And I really, like I said, I bring it up just because I see a lot of jewelry resellers paying an incredible amount, an incredible amount of money for jewelry that I know I can pay a lot less to have that jewelry. And I know the margins, and I know, it pays to be an informed consumer. Informed in anything, right? It's to have more information, allows you to make better choices, allows you to make better decisions and all that. And that's really, really what I wanted to kind of discuss and bring to your attention. Just be aware of that. As far as like other things, when it comes to electronics and things, there's a lot less margin in those. Apple products, there's incredible margin. Apple has incredible margins. It's wild. Like they make a lot of money on every single iPhone sale. Everything they sell, they make an incredible amount of money. They have an incredible markup that people are willing to pay. It's wild. It's insane. I really don't understand why people pay so much for Apple products. It's all in the name. It's just like a designer. You pay more. The materials could be the same, like in a sterling silver ring, it could be the same as just just one from like a Mexico sterling silver ring. But if you slap the name David Yurman on it, all of a sudden you're going to pay $200, $300 for it. Where if you didn't have that name on there, you might be paying close to 30 to 40 bucks. So just something to be aware of. And I'm hopefully that you find that information helpful. That's all I really had for today. I didn't really have much else. Oh, really quick. I forgot. I talked about this briefly in one of my other videos, but that was the tariffs. So the tariffs on China, and I kind of mentioned that was jewelry, that tariffs are coming down. They're not coming down to what they were last year or before, all these new tariffs were in place, but they are coming down. I think it's around 30% is what we're looking at, but I think there's still some negotiation involved there. But the fact that there was an announcement that Chinese and the United States have come to some sort of an agreement, all of a sudden the market takes off, right? There really no other reason other than some sort of an agreement occurred in these tariffs. It's not that these companies are even really feeling the impact of these tariffs just yet. Like I've discussed, we're not really, we were never going to really, I don't believe we were ever going to feel this impact, but if they had stayed in place, we would feel that impact towards, end of summer, start to feel it. But my opinion, like I said before, it was all a smokescreen. We were never really ever going to, feel the impact of these tariffs. And so looks like tariffs coming down. They're coming down across the board everywhere. Is everybody getting what they wanted? I don't know. I still think interest rates, needed to come down. But now with with interest rates, a potential drop in interest rates put off until I think the next point and when they could come down would be September. But then really when you feel the actual impact won't be for months later of them actually coming down. I think with that realization, something had to happen. We had to prevent economic catastrophe. Even though I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine overall. It would have been a disaster if something hadn't happened. And knowing that the interest rates were not coming down now, they had to make a deal with China. They had no choice. Somebody had to blink. Somebody had to, I wouldn't say talk reason to anybody because I think everybody is thinking reasonably. I think they're just using, tactics and to try to, get what they want. Get what they want is what they're trying to do. And, but the Fed wasn't working. And so shift gears and make the deal with China and hopefully, start working on this, pushing this tax package and everything through Congress, get that moved along as well too. That'll be even more good news. And, even more good news if you're involved in tech, all the meetings over in the Middle East right now, it looks a lot of announcements of potential investment in AI database. And so what happens? All the players in that space, their stock starts going up because they're hearing news that these rich countries, and mind you, countries that pay up, that have lots of money, are going to start hopefully buying hardware and software, to start building up their own AI databases and all that where they are. So now those companies start taking off. One of them was I wanted to say open source, but it's not open source. It's uh, what is it called? Uh, what was it called? What was the name of that company? Uh, I can't remember what it was. Company working not with Amazon, with NVIDIA. Company working with NVIDIA. Core. It's starting to come to me. It's Core Logic? Is it Core Logic? No, it's not Core Logic. CoreWeave. CoreWeave. That's the name. So obvious because AI is now in the news and there's going to be more money pushed towards AI. CoreWeave started taking off and very, very interesting. I believe I mentioned this really quick. Very, very interesting with CoreWeave because they have such a tight relationship with NVIDIA and they have an agreement with NVIDIA to where if their stock starts to drop below $40, NVIDIA comes in and starts to buy it up to prop it up. So to push it up higher above that. Kind of strange, kind of odd. I personally have never heard of that before. It's all out there in the world, so I guess it's all legit. I mean, it's out there for everybody to see and read, and they're not keeping it hidden or anything like that. So I guess it's all legit and good. You know, smarter people at this or there are more smarter people who worked on this deal and everything. But kind of an interesting play if you're interested in that. You know, definitely do your research, do your research in that, and look into that stuff. But it looks like tech again is leading the way. And I was watching, CNBC with that yesterday or the day before, and they were talking about how one of the investors that's on there, I think a hedge fund manager, I forget his name, but he was talking about how tech has become so much of a necessity in all of our lives, and he was talking about, when times are tough, when times get tough, do people start cutting out things, they start cutting out those extras in their life, try to slim down, try to bring down your bills and things like the internet. No one's going to cut the internet. That's something. So that could be a good, like a safe play. Companies like Netflix, we've all become accustomed to streaming movies. And for some people that obviously who used to pay for cable or direct TV and all that, and maybe their only source of entertainment is through Netflix or these companies that require the internet, that has now become kind of a staple. Cell phones before, in my day at least, cell phones were a luxury. Now they're a necessity and need to be in everybody's pocket. There's so many things, like so many things that were previously isolated to the tech space that are now just everywhere and are now being thought of more as necessities in our everyday life. And I mean, a lot of us wear smartwatches everywhere, right? I wear smartwatch. I hardly ever really use it for notifications that much anymore. I pretty much just use it till time. That's pretty much it. I have been keeping my eye out for something cool, like a cool watch or something. Kind of something more of a like a jewelry-esque type of piece, but can still tell me the time. So that's pretty much all I use it for nowadays. I count the steps sometimes, although when I'm working out, I don't wear it. I don't like to wear it when I'm working out, but either way, that is neither here nor there, as they say. But enough talking. I think that's probably about an hour or so, which is where I like to keep these videos at. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of the thrifting videos, of the the what solds. Let me know if do you want me to do more on location what solds? I was over at the Rose Garden here in San Jose, and I could do more of those. The bins, let me know what you think of the bins. The bins are doing great. The bins have been pretty amazing. Actually, I just cleaned up a Toomey bag. It wasn't even really that dirty. It just had dust all over it, so I just cleaned all the dust off of it. But I have a Toomey laptop bag sitting right over there that I'm about to get pictured and drafted soon here. So there's just some amazing stuff in the bins. If you have bins location, let me know what you're finding. Otherwise, please like the video, subscribe, comment down below, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. And we'll see you in the next video.
Hey, you've made it to the end. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video by hitting the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel by hitting my little round icon down below. It really does help us out here. Also, you'll find a couple of selections. You'll see a playlist of videos to watch and my most recent video that I did upload.